Are there any additional amendments to?
Madam Speaker.
Yes.
Amendment at the desk. Amendment 453622/1.
Amendment number 1.
So be considered reading of the amendment.
So ordered. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We've had a lot of discussion here in the last couple of amendments about values and principles and need versus wants and protecting the most vulnerable Marylanders. Early on in this session, I think it was the first bill that we voted. You might remember it was Hb350 if you want to look it up. It was a bill that continued extend a sunset on a bill for the Maternal and Child Health Population Health Improvement Fund. And what that fund did was really protect children. That program was so efficiently ran, they actually dropped our morbidity rate with children in the state of Maryland from 25th down to 19th. And we all agreed that this would be a good program to continue here in the state. And it passed almost unanimously. I voted for it. Well, then I look, and in HB 352, the birth of the next bill up, there's a section in there that allows $10 million of the $23 million to be transferred. And that's just really concerning to me because in the same session that we passed HB 930, it's a $25 million grant for abortions. We're taking money away from a program that helps solve child morbidity. So my amendment is really simple. Here's that program again with the amendments being simple. It restores that $10 million to that fund, and it takes $10 million away from the governor's office budget. Before anyone thinks I'm mean, the governor's office budget has gone up 78% in 3 years. After we take and accept this amendment and take $10 million and move it over to help children, he will still be left with nearly $500,000 more in his office budget than Larry Hogan had 3 years ago. We're going to talk about helping children. I know this program saves at least one. I move the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to thank my good friend for offering this really well thought out amendment and really appreciate him providing it ahead of time for our consideration. So our budget is full of so many difficult choices that we had to make in appropriations over the 138 budget hearings that we had. This is actually a program that our subcommittee struggled with. We thought deeply about this particular program, the work that your incredible committee under your wonderful chair's leadership has been doing. And I'm really grateful that your committee has extended the deadline, and I believe that that bill is now moving through the Senate too, so that's wonderful. Because of the incredible work of this body and your committee in particular, this program is extremely overfunded. That program has, per the fiscal note of the bill that you cited and the Department of Legislative Services analysis of this particular line item of the budget, this program has $24.1 million in its fund balance. And had the Health and Government Operations Committee not extended the deadline, they would have had to spend $24 million on these services before the end of this fiscal year. But because of the good work in passing the extension, this fund balance can continue to be spent should that bill be signed into law. Now, the reason that there has been such underspending in this program is, again, because of the work of this great body. Many of the services that are covered by this program are also covered by health insurance. And we have now a historic low level of underinsured and uninsured population here in Maryland because of the work of this body. Cutting $10 million out of a $24 million program fund was a hard decision to make. But we did it because we're making tough choices to balance our budget. We're being responsible leaders. What this amendment does is it would add that money back in a program that has not been able to spend the balance it has, and in exchange it would cut the governor's executive budget. Now this budget has 83% of its budget is staffing. Who are these staff? These are the people that help all of our offices in expediting constituent casework requests. And now, in a time when we are seeing more individuals being laid off by the federal government, more workers likely to utilize unemployment insurance, I'm remembering back to COVID days and how much I relied on those same staff that would be impacted by gutting this funding. So I would ask the body to resist this amendment, please, and note that, again, we made tough choices, but this was an important one that we decided to make that would not actually impact the delivery of these important services to vulnerable Marylanders. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, on the amendment.
Yes.
So I think I've heard everything today. We had a big conversation about values and principles, and I think this amendment kind of shows where the values and principles are of this chamber. So we're saying that we can't fund this program because it's ran too efficiently. That's ludicrous. And taking the money from the governor's budget, I just said, once again, 78% increase in this department in 3 years. Let me read you the communication staff. We have a director of communications, senior advisor to the governor, deputy director of communications, senior press secretary, press assistant, research advisor, senior speechwriter, digital media coordinator, digital director, digital strategist, creative director, video producer, and apparently multiple photographers. Look, when this amendment would go through, if the body chooses to support it, it would still leave the governor's office with $13 million, $13,800,000 and some thousand, which is $500,000, $500,000 more than Governor Hogan had to run his budget 3 years ago during COVID. Everybody's supposed to be tightening their belt. This seems like a really reasonable amendment to support a program that was working. It's hard to talk about values and principles and chastise the minority party for not voting the same way you do when you turn down reasonable offers like this. So with that, Madam Speaker, I press the amendment and urge all my colleagues here for a green vote. Thank you so much.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Roll call.
Madam Speaker?
To explain my vote, Madam Speaker.
Hold on a second.
Thank you. I vote green on this because we heard detailed testimony in HGO about this important program. Maternal morbidity and infant mortality are top issues in this state and top issues for the Health and Government Operations Committee. This program is working, and this seems like a reasonable amendment that the majority party could certainly take to say the governor's office could do with one less photographer and fund programs that work to help health outcomes in our state. Thank you.
Clerk will take the call. There being 98 votes in the negative, the amendment fails.